16 venues. You've got about 32 bands minimum at one time on the circuit playing. So that's a lot of gigs that we can generate this way. Okay. What's important to note here is that the bands don't book the gigs. They just put their name forward and say, we want to do a nationwide tour. They get put into the queue and they go on to the next tour that's available. The circuit gets set up before the time. The deals are made by me and the venues and the promoters spread all across the country. So for example, if there's a venue in Cork, all that they have to know is that every Friday night, 2 bands are going to turn up and play in their venue. They don't have to worry about booking the bands, organising the bands, promoting the bands, because all of that is done for them. It removes the hassle of booking bands from the venues. Okay, but the tour circuit goes a lot further than just getting the gigs. You need to do promotion as well. You need posters, flyers, gig guides, radio, etc. So if there's a radio DJ in Dublin who plays rock, we ask him to become part of the circuit. So every Friday there's 4 bands going on tour. 2 of them starting in Dublin, 2 of them starting in Dublin. So he has a choice of 4 bands every Friday to interview one of them. So every Friday he has new bands that he can interview. And then you add people to the circuit. If there's a DJ or a review or something in Cork that reviews DJs and live shows, he becomes part of the circuit. You find someone in Waterford, you find someone in Derry, you find someone in Belfast, and you just keep adding on to these people. Okay? I've already got offers from magazines, websites and DJs who want to be part of the circuit. It takes the effort away from the bands to set up the best publicity. It's all set up in advance. The longer the circuit runs, the more venues you add, the more DJs, journalists and CD shops you can add to the circuit. It's not easy to set up a circuit. It takes a long time to get the clubs on board, to get them to see the concept and the advantages. And to find all the DJs, journalists and CD shops. But that is something that I know how to do. Okay, about posters and flyers. What we're going to do is we are going to make boards like these. Okay. I'll explain it when I go into the big screen here. But basically, as part of the tour circuit, every club that joins the circuit gets a board like this that we put up inside the club. It holds flyers for the 4 next shows and for the show for that week. And just get it up on the big screen and I'll show you a better example. Okay, so these are all made up names. No one they're not real. So the codes are going on tour. They can name the tour whatever they want. The Nationwide Irish Tour, album launch tour, first headline tour, whatever. They take a support band with them. The reason why they take a support band with them is because there might be a band that's new, that hasn't played in Belfast, hasn't played in Cork, and we don't know if they're good enough to be on tour yet. So they go with, it's basically a test run. If they come back from the tour and everyone says, wow, this band was great, they were awesome, they get put into the queue to be a headline tour for the next tour. So, all the venues are listed on the thing. The city, the club, the date, the time, and the price. Plus, there will be extra bands playing. So, for example, if these 2 bands are playing in Dublin and John's Club might have 2 local bands playing with them. The reason why you get local bands to play with it is those are the bands that are going to provide the drum kits and the amps and everything, so that when you go on tour, you don't have to go with a big bus full of equipment. Okay? Now you can look at this. 1 tour for 2 bands gives all these other bands chances to play as well. And this is 1 band that's on tour, and there's 8 tours happening at the same time. You can imagine the amount of gigs that we can generate if we had enough bands and enough venues. Okay. Back to the poster boards. So, if band 1 is on tour this week, they take the posters and the flyers with for the band that's going the next week. And they put it into the boards, they put the flyers in. They don't mind taking another band's posters and flyers with, because another band took theirs with the previous week. That way the bands don't have to post flyers and posters to Belfast, Derry, Cork and whatever for their gigs. Everything gets delivered by the band on the tour before them. Right. The circuit goes further than just the live gigs and the promotion. The third problem that we have is distribution. How many of you have released a CD and you're sitting with 200 copies in your band room gathering dust? you'd like to have a way to get the CD into all the towns that you're playing in. Okay? So if there's 16 venues on the circuit, what we do is we go out and we buy 16 display stands like these. Okay? And we go to each venue and we give them one of these. And they put it behind the bar. We stock it with all the bands that belong to the Gay Federation. So you have your CD now in 16 venues on a tour circuit that you're going to play at, which is better than having all your CDs lying in your band room. Okay? When a band goes on tour, they get a list from me and a box of CDs. And the list will say, when you get to Belfast, give this club 2 CDs by this band and 3 CDs by this band, tell them to sign this paper. So we have a distribution system where the stock is spread around the country by the bands that are touring. We don't have to post the things, which is where you lose your money, is when you have to start using the postal system. Okay, so we've got a distribution network set up for 16 venues, stock being delivered all the time, everything administered by the Gay Federation. But it goes a little bit further than that, because we can then go to the independent CD shops in those towns, and we can start giving them stock as well, with a CD stand or just stock, whatever, to stock in their shops. So in Dublin, for instance, it could be Into the Void Records and Sound Center, and in Belfast there'll be 1 or 2 independent shops, in Cork there'll be 1 or 2, and therefore we start getting our music into CD shops as well. So your distribution network grows, and you don't have to worry about having a driver going around the country delivering CDs, because we've got bands going around the country on a tour circuit already. Okay, but you still have to take the distribution another step further. You have to get a big company, someone like Indie Entertainment, that distributes your CDs directly to the music stores that we can't get to, because there's a lot of music stores that we won't be playing in those towns. We need distribution companies in the US and Germany, etc. I've worked with international distribution. In South Africa, I was the agent for companies like 4AD, Beggars Banquet, TVT, Waxtrax, SPV, Metal Blade. Altogether, I was running 14 labels in South Africa. I did the releases for bands like Nine Inch Nails, the Pixies, the Cult, Motorhead, Gary Newman, all those bands. To get into this network, you need 2 things. You need numbers and you need a flagship release. What I mean by numbers is that a distributor is more likely to distribute your music is more likely to distribute 50 titles managed by 1 person than to deal with 50 individual bands. If I walk into a distributor's office and I say, I'm Joe from Band X, and here's my CD, I'd like you to distribute it, they have to open an account for 1 CD that might only sell 50 or 100 copies. It's not worth their while. But if I walk in and I say, I'm Helgot from the Gay Federation, I represent 50 bands, I have 25 albums, I'd like you to distribute them. Even if each album only sells 100 copies, that's 2,500 CDs they can sell on 1 account. It takes the admin hassle away from them, and they're much more likely to deal with you. But you need something more than that. You need a flagship title. Now, what a flagship title means is that you could have a label with 50 terrible bands on it that are useless. But if your flagship band is Sinead O'Connor or The Prodigy or Metallica, they'll sign up your label just to get your flagship release. Now, there is a possibility that one of the bands that join the Gay Federation turns into megastars and takes all the other bands with them on a distribution deal. But we can't guarantee that. So I've come up with a flagship release that will involve about 30 bands and is guaranteed to work. Okay, this is the big one, and you've got to pay attention here. We are going to release a double CD tribute to Thin Lizzy. Now think about this carefully. If you release this tribute, you know that every publication in this country will read you. If we spread it over enough genres, if we have from singer-songwriters through reggae bands, rock bands, metal bands, pop bands, doing cover versions of this, every single radio station in this country will find at least 1 track off it that they will play. Magazines like Hot Press will get behind this in a big way. Hopefully in the same way they got behind the Full Limit exhibition. I already have an in-principle agreement from a distributor in South Africa and one in Germany that said they will distribute this if we can release it and if it's good enough quality. So what does it take to release this tribute? If we book a studio for 15